up? Man Hour Nation, what is going on? Apparently not me, because I can't see me. Can you see me? Because I can't see me. Let me, as I try to figure out my backgrounds here and how to take them off. There I am. There I am. Just a little ingenuity is all it took. Welcome to Fantasy Football Wednesday with your boy Tori. So tonight we're going to cover a couple of different things. And if you're not following our fantasy football discussion group on Facebook, you need to get on that and follow that group. Ask your fantasy football questions. I will answer them. I try to get back to everybody. I try to welcome everybody. Between myself and Mike Buckheister, we try to take care of as much of the things on there that we can. So, if you want, again, as soon as I bring it up, where are we? This is the correct group to follow. And not that you can see it. There you go. Weekly basis, everything we do. We are live every Wednesday to do this, to bring it up. So tonight, we're going to cover trade targets. Some of the early season trade targets that you could probably get for not a lot, or maybe get that overzealous person that's maybe a little bit of a homer that will trade for somebody that is completely overrated on their team. We're also going to cover waivers, who you should pick up, who you should be dropping, all that stuff. We're going to do what I'm going to call smart start and holy sit. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that this week as well. So first things first, let's go over your early season trade targets. This is the part of the season where you're starting to get a little bit of a feel for what your team is, where you're strong, where you're lacking. I take full advantage of this in my league that I'm in. You will always have a couple of guys that are complete homers for whoever is on their team. Whoever their favorite team is. Like, I'm in Wisconsin. A lot of times you can get people to bite on trades for Packers. Don't be like the one guy in our league that was like, I'll trade you Aaron Rodgers for Cooper Kupp. Nobody in the world is making that deal except for an idiot. I don't care. And if you do make that deal, because you're like, it's Aaron freaking Rodgers, you just need to stop playing fantasy football immediately. I'm talking more about like you have like teams with giant fan bases, such as the Dallas Cowboys. Zeke Elliott, hands down, one of the most overrated players out there. He still consistently had a high ADP. People were still taking him, in the early rounds. To me, Tony Pollard and that offense, having Mike McCarthy as the head coach, is way more valuable in your league than Ezekiel Elliott is. However, you're still going to get these Cowboy fans that are like, Zeke. Trade. Make a trade with them. Look for certain players that you can get. Right now, one name that you should be looking at that you can probably get for maybe straight up Zeke, and they're going to think they're robbing you blind, James Robinson from the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's taking over that backfield. I had really high hopes for Travis Etienne this year. But in one of my leagues, he was available. And I took him, I think, with my second to last pick. I think it was like the 13th round. I took him basically as a handcuff to Etienne, just in case Etienne didn't pan out. Guess what? Etienne's not panning out. James Robinson, through the first 2 weeks, has made that James Robinson's backfield. If you can pull off a deal, if you can offer somebody Zeke for James Robinson, if he's rostered on somebody, 100%. Put that trade out to them. They're going to bite within seconds. Especially if they're a big homer and like if they're a big Cowboys fan, they're going to bite on that stuff. Take advantage of your opponents. This is no mercy. This is just like real life GM. Kind of like everybody takes advantage of like the Houston Texans and the Cleveland Browns. do the exact same thing to your opponents. Couple other names out there that you might want to try to go after that maybe not have had great starts, and you could probably get them for some of the early round or the early year kind of breakout candidates. Josh Palmer's a name out there. I would say he's probably at this point a little bit overrated just because he is on the Chargers. There's a ton of weapons on that team. He's getting targets right now because Keenan Allen's hurt. If you have him on your roster and you can flip him for another wideout, maybe somebody like a Darnell Mooney, who is not getting the catches right now. Justin Fields is still getting in there. I would make that flip, especially if you want to make the deeper run. Mooney is not playing well right now. He is probably going to be available pretty on the cheap from somebody because he has not produced very well the first 2 weeks of the season. Again, there's other players too. I would sell high. If you have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, sell high on him right now. People are going to overpay for him right now. So this goes both ways. People are going to overpay for somebody like him. Like I said last week, he flashes. He does. He plays well in stretches, but he never puts it all together. They still have Pacheco. I still think that he will cut into Clyde Edwards-Helaire's carries by midseason. I have a couple of running backs like that. If you've listened to the show, you know that. So another one, sell high on him. See what you can get for him. Maybe aim for, whatever your weakest position is at that point. Maybe try to flip him for maybe a Graham Everett or maybe a Dallas Goedert if you're short at tight end with either one of those people, just because tight ends are kind of hard supply these days. I would say Darren Waller. Darren Waller is another one that is starting off great. But again, Derek Carr is still building chemistry with Devontae. They have not taken off like everybody kind of thought. Darren Waller's kind of been the focal point. When the rest of that offense finally gets going and it catches up, Darren Waller's numbers will drop. That's going to be a fact. So take a look at those. Taking full advantage of your opponents. If you're looking at the waiver wire this week, I'm going to tell you right now, go after Kenneth Gainwell. If Gainwell is still not rostered in your league, you need to be going after Kenneth Gainwell. Again, he's going to start eating more and more and more into Miles Sanders' carries. He's a better receiver out of the backfield. He's got a little bit better rapport with Jalen Hurts right now than anybody else. So I'm going to tell you right now, go after him. He is a must pick up on this waiver Wednesday. A lot of tough defensive matchups this week. I only have the Bills defense rostered in one of my leagues. I'm looking right now trying to figure out what defense am I going to pick up. The top two defenses in the league that are available in my league are the Bears and the Texans. And guess who play each other this weekend? The Bears and the Texans. And they're both predicted to have a ton of points. At that point, it's literally a coin flip. I would lean a little bit more towards picking up the Texans defense just because the Houston Texans offense has shown a little bit more of a propensity to come to life versus the Bears. The Bears have put up 19 points. Granted, it was a rain-soaked game, and 10 points. That doesn't exactly inspire a lot of confidence into what this could all look into. So honestly, I would look at probably picking up the Houston Texans defense and starting them this weekend, especially if you have a tough matchup where you're like, I don't like this. Look at picking up the Texans defense just for this week. Again, I'm very much a big on situational pickups like that. 100% will do it every single time. My other ones that you need to start this week, hands down, pretty much anybody on the Eagles right now, except for Miles Sanders. Again, I'm just not a Miles Sanders fan. I just don't see it. But if you have Devonta Smith, start him. AJ Brown, start him. Jalen Hurts, start him. Dallas Goedert, start him. You need to do that. The other team that you might look at, and almost won me a whole lot of money if a couple other people on my team went to fizzled out. The Detroit Lions, Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, DeAndre Swift, Ted Hockenson. This team is starting to put up points. They are putting up points in bunches. They're turning into who I thought they potentially could be. And I'm sure if people listened to me in the preseason when I said Jared Goff could have a Jared Goff type season like he did when they went to the Super Bowl. I thoroughly believe that they have those kind of weapons on that team. It's not household name weapons. Amon-Ra Brown is certainly becoming one real quick. However, nobody looked at that roster. This is going to be a potent offense. Nobody. I said they would be. Called it 100%. These are all players that are turning into must-start players. Another one that I looked at too, and actually I have him in my one league. I couldn't get him in my other league. He actually got drafted, was Rashad Bateman. Again, a player that if you have Lamar Jackson and somebody has Rashad Bateman, maybe their stats on the bench, offer a trade. Rashad Bateman is slowly becoming a must-start player in fantasy. He is hands down become what the Ravens thought that Hollywood Brown was going to be. He is Hollywood Brown, except he can catch the ball, and he doesn't talk as much trash. I am a big fan of Rashad Bateman. Rashad Bateman showed flashes last year when he was injured. And this year, he is showing out. First 2 games, 2 touchdowns. He is going to be a player this year. You need to be getting him on your team if he's not rostered, and especially if you have Lamar. That's just double dipping on points right there. Go after Rashad Bateman. Absolutely grab him. Another one, he probably drafted most leagues too. I'm going to start saying he's going to be a must start. I think this will kind of be his breakout weekend. The Green Bay Packers showed that the Bears' run defense is not very good. And if you have any semblance of an offensive line, you're going to run all day on them. Right now, Rex Burkhead is the starter in Houston. Dameon Pierce, got all the hype. All the hype. Guess what? Dameon Pierce is not even playing ahead of Rex Burkhead right now. So you need to kind of get on that Dameon Pierce. I think this is the Dameon Pierce coming out party this weekend just because it's a defense that's not as good. He even got a little bit more playing time last week. So we get a couple of comments. So trade St. Brown from the Lions for Hopkins and Gabal from the Bills. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. I'm assuming that's supposed to be Gabe Davis from the Bills. No, I wouldn't. No, I would not make that deal. Just because Hopkins is on my overrated names list. Just not the same player since he's been hurt. And then let's see what happens when he comes back from suspended. And they said, Hurts. If you're not paying attention, Jalen Hurts is a top 10 quarterback in this league right now. Jalen Hurts is the NFC version of Lamar Jackson, except with better accuracy. With A.J. Brown on the opposite side of Devonta Smith, again, one of the most lethal offenses out there. He only had 1 touchdown pass, but he ran for 82 yards and 2 touchdowns to go along with it. The one thing that makes Jalen Hurts a lot more dangerous this year compared to last year when he was kind of is he's not turning the ball over as much. He's learning that part. He has learned when to pull it down and to run, and versus let's just run right away. He's learning to look down the field. He's learning to look at different receivers. He's evolving. I don't even think we're seeing the finished product of what Jalen Hurts could be. I think that could probably be next year and the year after, where we're going to look at Jalen Hurts and be like, how do we stop this guy? The guy is a complete package. Absolutely 110% on that. There is nothing you're going to be able to do with Jalen Hurts. The only thing that's going to stop Jalen Hurts is Jalen Hurts at that point. We are looking at probably what could be one of the most dominant players since Vic was the first kind of dual threat quarterback. He has that potential to be a game changer like Mike Vick. You're going to literally have to have one player dedicated to just looking at Hurts every single play. you are going to be playing a player down because all they're going to do is shadow him. And you're going to have to, or he's going to destroy you. Absolutely. So if you're in a dynasty league and you have Hurts, you will probably want to keep him. Just based off of his early season play this year, absolutely. I don't think this Philadelphia Eagles team is going to slow down. They know how to put up points and they can put them up in bunches. I thought their defense would be a lot better than what they've shown so far. Maybe they do get better, but if not, they're going to be in shootouts and be able to put up a whole bunch of points pretty consistently. They've already shown it the first 2 weeks of the season. So yes, absolutely. Almost any offensive player for the Eagles, you should roster them, which is kind of funny because I have Devonta Smith, I have Dallas Goedert, and I have Jalen Hurts on my one roster. Actually, I look at my one roster, I'm pretty much starting Alabama with Jalen Hurts is one of my starters. Najee Harris is one of my running backs, which, again, depending on your league, if I could trade Najee Harris right now, I probably would. Just because I called it that he was overrated. I got stuck in a bad spot in my draft, and there wasn't really any other options for me to take at that point. And the board didn't really fall the way I kind of thought it would. I ended up taking him going against my own advice, and I am regretting it ever since. Like right now, I am looking at probably benching Najee Harris and starting James Robinson and Cordero Patterson as my running backs. Again, I have Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle on my rosters. So literally just basically starting Alabama teams. I mean, at this point, I might as well pick up Irv Smith Jr. and put him on my team. So, if you guys got anything that you guys want to hear, anything you want to ask me. That's what we're here for. You can get me here at Twitter at my man hour _Tory. Hit me up there. You can hit me up on the Man Hour webpage. You can hit me up on our fantasy football discussion webpage. I am more than happy to help out. I always joke I'm like the weatherman. Like I'm only going to be right probably 25% of the time, but I'm still going to keep my job. So, this isn't an exact science. I look at matchups and everything else like that. As soon as that first ball gets kicked off, that's all out the window. It's all up to the players then. So a lot of the stuff it's I research and I go through and look up everything and I look at who they're playing, who's out, who's not, or who's not out, what's their offensive line. I look at all those different things before I bring these to. It's not like I just let's talk about that guy. Yeah, let's no. I look at this stuff, I study this stuff, I go over it. All because I want you to win your fantasy league. Just like I want to win my fantasy league every year, I want you to be able to walk in, hold up that title, and gloat over everybody. Guys, that's all I've got for tonight. It's just a quick solo show just because Buck was unavailable, so we weren't able to connect up. Buck hopefully will be back next week, and we can kind of go a little bit more in depth and talk about a couple of other things. The other thing I like to do, I like to play DraftKings. I play it every week. You want to talk DraftKings? Bring it up. Let's go over it. Let's all make some money. Let's all win some chips together. All right. Have a great evening.